Once again, I welcome you all on this online teaching platform of Divine Public School, Mohanapur, Gorakhpur. I hope you all are fine and utilizing your maximum time in studies and observing, listening, watching the videos uploaded by your respected teachers so that you can attain the knowledge of your subject. I welcome you all. Dear students, today I am going to teach you poem 3. The name of the poem is Keeping Quiet, written by Pablo Neruda from your textbook Flamingo, subject English core, code 301 of class 12. Let's have some discussion about the poet. Here I will tell you something about the life and work of the poet Pablo Neruda. Pablo Neruda was born on 1904 and he died in 1973. Is the pen name of Neftali Ricardo Reyes Basalto, who was born in the town of Parral in Chile. Neruda's poems are full of easily understood images which make them no less beautiful. He won the Nobel Prize for Literature in the year 1971. In this poem, Neruda talks about the necessity of quiet introspection and creating a feeling of mutual understanding among human beings. Pablo Neruda wrote in a variety of styles, such as love poems, as in his collection 20 Poems of Love and a Song of Despair, surrealist poems, historical epics, and overtly political manifestos. Pablo Neruda traveled the world for many years and returned to Chile in 1943. In 1945, he joined the Communist Party of Chile and became Senator of the Republic. Pablo Neruda died in 1973. He wrote over 140 poems. In 1971, Neruda won the Nobel Prize for Literature. Colombian novelist Gabriel Garcia Marquez once called him the greatest poet of the 20th century in any language. So, this was something about the life and work of the poet Pablo Neruda, who has written this poem, Keeping Quiet. Dear students, let me give you the introduction of the poem. The poem Keeping Quiet, written by Pablo Neruda, discusses the need of maintaining peace and silence. He stresses upon being quiet and harmless to the human beings, animals, and environment. He suggests that in order to maintain peace and harmony, it is required to stop and introspect ourselves. Now, here, dear student, you can see one word, that is introspect. Dear student, the meaning of introspect is observation of one's own mental and emotional processes. That means you have to think about yourself, your actions. In this poem, the poet has emphasized the need to introspect and bring in the spirit of brotherhood among the people of the world. Because in our mundane life, we are working towards achieving selfish goals, regardless of the other's requirements and emotions. Hence, this sudden silence would give us an opportunity to introspect. Since we would not speak for a while, barriers between communities would break and a sense of brotherhood would prevail. At the last, the poem does not want his desire for inactivity. That means the poet doesn't want us to be total inactive. So, the poet does not want his desire for inactivity to be misunderstood as a state of uselessness. He wants men to learn a lesson from the earth. So, this was the introduction of the poem. Now, let's begin the poem. Here, I will be explaining you the poem stanza wise. Now, explanation of stanza 1. Now we will count to 12 and we will all keep still. For once on the face of the earth, let's not speak in any language, let's stop for 1 second and not move our arms so much. Dear students, you can see the underlined words, which are the difficult words in the stanza. The first one is the count. The meaning of the count here in this poem is say numbers from 1 to 12. And the second word meaning, which is the difficult one, is the face of the earth. That means the surface of the earth. Now see the stanza from the start. Now we will count to 12 and we will all keep still. Now in these two lines, the poet is asking everyone to count up to 12 in their mind. Now this number 12 may represent the hours of the clock or even the months of a year. So he wants all of us to be very still and silent and calm, not doing any work at all. For once on the face of the earth, let's not speak in any language. Let's stop for 1 second and not move our arms so much. So he says that when everybody is calm and quiet, people across the nation will be together and unite, because they will not be speaking in their own languages, their native languages, and they will all be quiet and they will speak only one language. Now, dear student, what is that language, the single language for which the poet is urging us? That is the language of silence. So he wants everybody all over the world to be united through the language of silence. So he says that when everybody speaks the language of silence, there will be unity. They all will be united. All the humans will be united on the face of the earth. That means the surface of the earth. And further he says that for at least one moment, let us not move our arms either to signal or fight or to argue with each other. So he wants everybody completely to be silent and calm. Now, dear students, in this stanza, poet has used only one poetic device, that is alliteration. As you can see in the line 1 and line 2, we will, in the second line, we will. This shows the poetic device, the figure of speech alliteration, where the words or the letters are repeated. Coming to the next stanza, explanation of stanza 2. It would be an exotic moment, without rush, without engines, we would all be together in a sudden strangeness. Fishermen in the cold sea would not harm whales, and the man gathering salt would look at his hurt hands. Now, dear students, see the difficult words in this stanza. Second, first one is the exotic, which means unusual, enticing. Second one is engines, means machine or devices. Third difficult word is sudden strangeness, that means unusual or surprising. Fourth one is the cold sea, which means sea near the poles. Fifth one is gathering. The fifth difficult word is gathering, that means collecting. So exotic means unusual, engine means machines or devices, sudden strangeness means unusual, surprising. Cold sea here it means sea near the poles, gathering means collecting. Now see the stanza from the start. It would be an exotic moment, without rush, without engines. We would all be together in a sudden strangeness. Now, dear students, here the poet wants everybody to be still and calm. And so he says that this moment will be an exotic moment. That means this moment will be an unusual moment. Now, what is the meaning of exotic here? As I've just now told you, unusual and enticing. So this moment when everybody is silent is going to be an exotic moment. So there will be no rush, there will be no engines running, and nobody will be running madly after everything or anything. Everybody will be calm and quiet, united with each other in a very strange atmosphere, in a sudden strangeness. What is the meaning of sudden strangeness? Just now I told you it means unusual or surprising. So that everybody will be calm and quiet, nobody will be doing any kind of work. That's why the poet says that this is a sudden strangeness. Fishermen in the cold sea would not harm whales, and the man gathering salt would look at his hurt hands. Now, fishermen in the cold sea, that means the sea near the poles, would not harm whales. That means no person will be going to catch fish, or no person would be harming any other living being either for food or to earn his livelihood. And the man gathering salt would look at his hurt hands. And the man, the people who are in the profession or collects the salt, would look at his hurt hands. So all the people, this implies that all people who are working endlessly, that is without any stop, will look at their own injuries and damages they have caused to themselves, and they will have a moment to think about what they have done to themselves doing this mad for rush. Actually, the poet wants everybody to stop and find out what they have achieved or what they have lost because of their mad rush. He gives the examples of the man gathering salt whose hands are hurt. Here he wants to tell everyone to stop in order to see and feel their achievements and how much they have lost just to achieve the materialistic needs. Again, the poet has used the poetic device alliteration. As you can see, students, in line number 3, we would. W is repeated here. That means the figure of speech here is alliteration. Understood, students? Now moving to the stanza 3. Those who prepare green wars with gas, wars with fire, victory with no survivors, would put on clean clothes and walk about with their brothers in the shade doing nothing. What I want should not be confused with total inactivity. Life is what it is about. I want no truck with death. Now see the difficult words here. Green war. This means wars against environment. Survivors, it means those who are left alive. In the shade means under the trees. Confused means misunderstood. Truck with means associated with. Once again I repeat, green wars. See the difficult word and meaning. Green wars, wars against environment. Survivors, those who are left alive. In the shade means under the trees. Confused, misunderstood. Truck with, associated with. Now see the stanza from the start. Those who prepare green wars with gas, wars with fire, victory with no survivors, would put on clean clothes and walk about with their brothers in the shade doing nothing. The people who exploit the green wealth by deforestation or mining or fishing in the deep seas, and the soldiers who use weapons to kill fellow human beings need some time to introspect into the consequences of their actions. They are merely doing their job or following orders. Dear student, the poet wants them to put on new clothes, that is to adopt a new approach towards life, and to realize that killing so many people is not a victory. He wants all of us to be united as one. Consider our enemies to be our brother. The poet wants to promote brotherhood, peace, and unity. He does not want us to stop our works, but to take some time and analyze the result of our deeds. What I want should not be confused with total inactivity. Life is what it is about. I want no truck with death. Now, here in this stanza, the poet asks everyone to stop their activities which are damaging the environment. Today, all the human beings are making money by damaging the environment. with their activities such as mining, deforestation, letting the chemical waste into river, etc. The poet asks us not to do so. He also requests people not to involve in wars as there is no benefit of achieving such victory in which no one is left alive. He says so because wars and environmental damage will lead to no life on earth. Rather, the poet wants people to adopt a new approach towards life and mankind. Now, dear student, the poetic device used by the poet here in this stanza is repetition, as you can see, war. The word war is being repeated. Repetition, that means the use of war, and alliteration, wars with, that means W sound is repeated. Clean clothes, here the C is, that means the sound of the C is repeated. Clean clothes, C, C. Is it clear, students? Now moving towards the stanza 4. If we were not so single-minded about keeping our lives moving and for once could do nothing, perhaps a huge silence might interrupt this sadness of never understanding ourselves and of threatening ourselves with death. Now see the difficult words here. Single-minded means focused on only one thing. Interrupt means disturb. Threatening means causing a threat. Now see the stanza from the start. If we were not so single minded about keeping our lives moving and for once could do nothing, perhaps a huge silence might interrupt this sadness of never understanding ourselves and of threatening ourselves with death. Now, in this stanza, the poet says that all human beings work endlessly with the aim of completing all their tasks. They are driven by the target of survival and the threat of death. So they are in a mad rush to accomplish all their works. He says that perhaps if they pause for a while, they can appreciate their achievements and their lives would become happier. He suggests that by keeping quiet, we will be able to understand the true purpose of our life. What we want from our life, we can understand better by keeping quiet. Now, the poet wants to clarify to his readers that when asked them to stop from saying or doing nothing, he doesn't want anyone to become a non-active person. Non-active person who remains ideal and doesn't do anything. The poet doesn't want to see people being killed due to their greed for money and expansion of territories. Further, the poet says that people are continuously working to achieve their task without even thinking about their results. They are in the fear of death and therefore want to achieve most of the things before their death. Here he urges the people to stop for a while and take some moment to relish on what they have achieved till now. But now the poet says it is the time to stop and see what has been achieved and should be enjoyed. This will help us skip the sadness which has become so prominent in our lives. The sadness of not enjoying what we have achieved and the greed to achieve what next is in the list to be achieved. Now, dear students, in this stanza, the poet once again has used the figure of speech that is alliteration. We were. That means W, W. The sound of W is repeated, and in so single minded, S in so and single S. That means S sound is repeated. So here the poetic device is alliteration. Now coming to the stanza 5. Perhaps the earth can teach us as when everything seems dead and later proves to be alive. Now I will count up to 12 and you keep quiet and I will go. In the last stanza, the poet suggests us to take a teaching from the nature. As the earth undergoes changes, in winter everything freezes, become lifeless. But after some time the season changes again and everything comes back to life. Similarly, taking a pause and introspecting into our lives will give it a new meaning. we will be able to understand the purpose of our life. It will be like a rebirth of the soul. The poet has conveyed to all the people the purpose of his message, and so he asks them once again to take a pause, count till 12, and walks out of the scene, keeping the scene open for all the people on the earth to experience this for times to come. In this poem, the poet aims to appeal to the readers to take some time out of their busy life for a little introspection and retrospection. The title Keeping Quiet is symbolic of stopping all the activities, keeping quiet in the mind, not doing anything, but to question and understand the purpose of the world that humans have created around themselves. Now, in this slide, I have given you some stanzas for comprehension. You can see stanza 1, stanza 2, stanza 3, stanza 4, stanza 5, stanza 6. You have to answer the given questions. You have to write the answer in your homework copy and you have to show me when the school reopens. Now in this slide there are answered the following questions. Question number 1, what will counting up to 12 and keeping still help us achieve? Question number 2, do you think the poet advocates total inactivity and death? Question number 4, what is the sadness that the poet refers to in the poem? Question number 4, what alternative does Pablo Neruda suggest instead of indulging in wars? Question number 5, justify the title Keeping Quiet. Question number 6, which is the exotic moment that the poet refers to in Keeping Quiet? Question number 7, why does the poet feel that we should not be so single-minded? So all these questions are very important as per the board examination from this poem 3, that is Keeping Quiet, written by Pablo Neruda. You have to write the answer of these questions in your homework copy and you have to show me when the school reopens. Is it clear, students? So be serious towards your studies in this pandemic situation. Thanks for watching and listening. Once again, I will be back with my next video. Thank you for watching and listening.